Hello everyone, welcome to week 2 of curriculum design and assessment. I hope you had a good weekend. A couple announcements before I get started on lecture today. I asked people to send me their group members through email. I heard back from 3 groups, but I did not hear back from the entire class. I have now put the people that I did not hear from in particular groups, so please make sure that you check the announcement board to see who your group members are so that you can get to work on your group projects, which is due in week 3. I also emailed the groups to you. The first email was a mistake. I had the groups wrong. Please delete that. The second email is the correct one with the 4 groups. If you want to double check, I always put in an announcement, so please make sure that you check announcements as well. I'm going to go ahead and say it really quick in the video here. So in group 1 is Shauna, Jennifer, Kyle, and Shannon. In group 2 is Patricia B., Kamari, Thomas, and Mark. In group 3 is Terry, Christina, Jasmina, and Jason. And in group 4 is Patricia G., Leonardo, Doug, Patricia T., and Ryan. If there's anybody that I have left off the list by accident, please contact me immediately and let me know. Okay. Just going back to my week 2 so I have it posted. Second thing, please make sure, just a reminder about the discussion board. I had quite a few people not post at all until Sunday. In the online classes, you need to have your primary response up by Thursday night, on or before midnight, and then your peer responses up on or before Sunday midnight. I always prefer that you do a primary response earlier in the week, if at all possible, because the discussion board is how we communicate and talk to each other through that thread. I like to read it. I like to read what you're talking about, what you're discussing, learn a little bit more about you and your life since we don't get to meet face to face. Please make every effort you can to post in a timely manner. The last thing is that some of you still don't have books. Something happened, there was a late order and they didn't come through. And I want to remind you that the information that we are studying, especially related to Ornstein, you're going to find everything that you need for now on the web. If you type in Historical Foundations of Curriculum Ornstein, it's going to pop up the information that you need. The same with Psychological Foundations or Philosophical Foundations of Curriculum. It's going to pop up. It's not going to be in complete detail as we have in our book, but it will be enough to get you by until your book comes. And you're hearing Popo is talking, my bird, as we meet today. I guess he wants to chime in. But anyways, so don't stress too much about that. So this week, you're looking at the historical foundations of curriculum and you're looking at the psychological foundations of curriculum. And basically, I could go on and on talking about this and it would get very lengthy. When you're looking at the historical foundations of curriculum, you're looking all the way back to the Puritans, all the way back to the time period, and then also influences from Europe. But we're going all the way back to the Puritans, where they had town schools and later private schools. We see religion playing a highly prominent role in education in the beginning. And then later on, as we start moving into the rationalists, we see a focus on logic and the need for all people to be educated. Ben Franklin becomes one of the many that believes that everyone should be educated, and we start seeing a move towards vocational schools. He also begins public libraries because he believes people in America should all be able to read. We see Thomas Jefferson getting involved and offering scholarships to people who want to learn, and the education changes over time. Sir Ken Robinson talks a little bit about it. He talks about why people were being trained and the way they were being trained, especially during the Industrial Revolution. And we're now looking at how education has to progress for this new future that we have no idea what it's going to be like in technology. And I hear people say it all the time, and I've probably already said it to you. We're teaching children, but we have no idea these jobs for the future that they're going to hold 10 to 20 years from now may not have even been created yet because of the way technology is advancing. And so it's interesting to look at the historical foundation and how we've moved and the different educational movements that have happened and created this broad spectrum that we have now that we pull from when we are teaching. The psychological foundations of curriculum, we see the same thing. We see different theories of why people are the way they are, or how they learn the way they learn. And when you're in your classroom, you know, we're starting to see this focus, and Ornstein talks about it. Let me pull up a little quote that I have here somewhere. Hang on. I get so many screens going that God knows. Okay, so Ornstein talks about a student who is frustrated, distraught, or emotionally upset will learn very little. Rather, she will withdraw or resist. Students' self-esteem and self-concept must thus be recognized as essential factors relating to learning. Without good feelings for oneself and without a sense of motivation, there's little chance for effective learning. And we're seeing this again with Fisher and Frey. Their studies are all showing that one of the highest bumps in student achievement, in intellectual and in being educated, is a student believing that they can. No matter how difficult it is, that they can, that they may not be able to do it right now, but they will be able to do it. And moving forward, the lower the self-esteem, the harder it is to get the students to rise up on those percentage points that Fisher and Frey talk about in education. So self-worth, they're finding that homework is kind of diminished as far as creating, you know, a big jump and educational push. And we're starting to see a focus more on the classroom again, something that we saw definitely in the 70s, which people thought was very progressive and very hippie, but is getting children to be engaged enthusiastically with their work. And it doesn't mean you have to be like, you know, nicety nice and let people get away with things. Kids love these boundaries as well, but it's just saying that students learn better if they're not emotionally upset when they come into a classroom. And we see this also with Kagan, you know, and Safe and Civil. We're asking teachers to greet children at the door, to take an interest in them as people, and in that way it reduces the stress in the classroom and it allows their brains to be free to think and to be comfortable to think. Okay, I'm going to move past that because I can tell that I am getting lengthy here. And I want to go into the collaborative group presentation that is due on week 3. It asks the group, you're doing character/moral education student activity assignment. We teach a lot of this. We have taught a lot of this in elementary and middle school. And we're moving towards doing more of it in high school as well. They used to have folders like character counts and those types of things with lessons in them that we studied. So for this assignment, what you're doing as a group, you decide on one obstacle or challenge that students might face. You can look at this on a larger scale and in regards to overall school culture, bullying, peer pressure, family, excuse me, expectations, family involvement, family norms, poverty level, etc. Or you can narrow your focus to a challenge as seen more prevalently in the classroom: lack of motivation, language barriers, disengagement due to cultural norms, competition. In the slides, you're going to define, use explanations, charts, statistics to give a background look at character or moral education. And then you're going to come up with an activity or assignment that you could do with your students, or it can be a school-wide activity as a way to combat the obstacle or challenge you've established as you focus for this presentation. Now, this is all self-explanatory as a group. I don't think that you're going to have any difficulty doing this. But I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about teaching. And some of you guys know this already. Some of you have experienced it. And some of you will as you go on. You can find ways to tie character and moral lessons within a regular school lesson for the day. So currently, we have a student at our school who is misdiagnosed in special education, and he is in RSP, but definitely probably needs a special day. And he has been going through the school, and he's been screaming. And it's a very terrifying scream. It sounds like somebody is being harmed or being held down, or something bad has really happened. And he has been scaring students, and he has been scaring teachers. And it's just been happening in the last couple of weeks. And I just heard from another, I'm progressively hearing from more people about this. And so I heard from a teacher today that said this student actually went into a classroom that wasn't his classroom today. Everybody was silently working, and just stood in the back of the room and started screaming, and terrified the teacher and terrified the students. And so the administration is trying to find a way to make this work with the parents, who would like him to be continue to be mainstreamed, but he won't stop screaming. And so when this first happened, there were a lot of students that were making fun. They were finding ways to get him to scream. They were videotaping him screaming. They were laughing like this was so funny. You know, every time a teacher was like, hey, what's going on? Why are you screaming? And then he would just scream, and they just thought it was so funny that, you know, we weren't able to control the student. But then we started having students that were very upset that this student was being teased. And then we had students that were just very upset by the whole situation, period. And soon the student definitely became, you just saw over the course of these 2 weeks that he became more of an outsider, and that people, you know, were staying away from him and kind of ignoring him and didn't know how to behave. So the kids were very upset about this, and they were having a hard time talking about it to people. And so today we were working on The Crucible, Arthur Miller. And we were talking about why outsiders were accused first in the Salem witch trial. And then we started talking about outsiders. And of course, as we talked about outsiders, then I was able to pull in a character ed thing. I said, you know, they were all, you know, oh, that's so horrible that they were doing that. And I was like, well, really? I go, what about school? Are you guys telling me that there's no outsiders at school, that outsiders don't get bullied, that everybody at school treats everybody fairly and doesn't accuse anybody of things? Or, you know, and it was that moment where they just all went, oh, whoa, she's calling us out. But I didn't do it in a mean way. I just did it in a way for them to make the connection, so that they can make the connection with the lesson, but also pull it back and make it in connection with the school, okay? I then went on, and we were talking about the Salem witch trials, and of course the memorial is dedicated by Elie Wiesel, and they had just read Night in 10th grade. So then we were able to make that connection again between the persecution of the Salem, the innocent people of the Salem witch trials, and the innocent people with the Holocaust, and then also people at school who are treated like outsiders and therefore bullied, harassed, or whatever. And we unfortunately see this in our special ed community often. And it gives them a chance to start thinking with empathy about what's their place in this, what's their role, who are they going to be in this situation. And so you can do a character assignment like that is very just on the spot. That doesn't have to be this big drawn out thing that makes them go, oh, we're doing a character assessment, because you know sometimes they will be that way. You can just throw it into a lesson and find a way to tie it into whatever your curriculum may be. And it will work with any curriculum. It will. There are people that have been harassed in physical education, in science, and mathematics, or whatever. If I wanted to do, character analysis on character lesson on harassment or bullying, there have been people that have overcome great odds and learning disabilities to become major achievers in education. There are people that grew up without that went on to be successful. And there are people that grew up with everything and lost it and became humbled and then once again became successful. So when you're looking at things like that, you can do something small in your classroom to make that difference. Because we have to be the example of the type of person that we want our students to be. So those are things to think about when you're thinking about your character education project. You know, you don't have to go extreme and do like this whole school thing. Although a lot of schools do. and that's wonderful too. But it can be something small, something simple that is a group that you've all decided you're going to try in your class, maybe just a little thing like that, or maybe it's a whole class activity, or maybe you decide to do your small learning community or therefore your school. It's up to you, but I don't want you to become overwhelmed with this. All right, I feel like I'm prattling on. We're already at 15 minutes, so I am going to let you go. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. Those of you that have contacted me know that I get back to you very quickly, and I will continue to do so. I'm going to grade anything that I've missed tonight and tomorrow, so we will all be up to date. Stay on top of everything for week 2, and I will talk to you later. Have a great night.